welcome to CUAHSI's WaterHackWeek Info Session. Today we are joined by Christina Bandaragota, who is a Senior Research Scientist at the University of Washington. Before we start, I just want to remind everyone that this session will be recorded and posted on the CUAHSI website later today. We'll also take questions at the end, so if you have any questions, please be sure to type them into the questions box. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Christina.
Thank you, Ainsley. We are really excited for WaterHackWeek 2020. Happy New Year to everyone. We thought that we would have an information session to talk about give people an opportunity to ask questions and learn more about WaterHackWeek. And our goal for today is really to explore the question, what is WaterHackWeek? It's as an inclusive, very broad answer, I spent about 5 minutes trying to explain what WaterHackWeek was to colleagues at AGU, American Geophysical Union fall meeting this December. And after about 5 minutes, a student in physics who I was talking to said, "Oh, it's a participant-driven interactive learning experience." And I said, "Yes, that's what it is." So what you need to understand is we've got all types of people working on all areas of water-related research and science. And this is a photo from our 2019 event, which was the first event that we had. So to get into more details, when people apply to WaterHackWeek, they have a diverse range of goals and things that they want to learn about. So if you've applied already, you'll see that this information helps us understand who we should be inviting as instructors and what is the type of content we should be focusing on teaching about. So in the next slides, we're going to talk about what we did in 2019. Things should evolve in 2020 based on the participant information we get. We'll go over some of the data science and cyber infrastructure training opportunities that we are planning to provide. And then, of course, the community leaders that make all of this possible. In 2019, this is the crew, and I don't think this is even all of the pictures, that made WaterHackWeek possible. So everyone who participates really forms what happens at the event, from software developers, graduate students, undergraduate students, and faculty all are participating for the entire week, as well as for partial parts of the week if they're in Seattle and bringing a special expertise like machine learning or cyber seminar tutorials, may be remote and virtual and be attending using our Slack channel. So in the next few slides, I've got quotes that cover kind of to give a feel of what happens at WaterHackWeek from our participants last year. And it is a steep learning curve. There's a lot of information coming at you, and that also makes it very fun. All the information that we have is available on GitHub and on HydroShare and available for people to keep learning and working on after WaterHackWeek. And then we also present as much information as possible in advance of WaterHackWeek at cyber seminars, which I'll talk about later. And Tony Castronova is also on the line here to help answer questions as we go, and is one of the leaders of WaterHackWeek. One important thing about WaterHackWeek is that it is a different experience than you may have ever had in academia or graduate school, or your work is in software. We have a lot of fun, and this is just a picture of some participants from last year walking to our WaterHackweek Community Mixer that we have at UW, where we talk about, we present some of our teamwork as well as hang out. And we've strategically put it in the event in March, which is when all the cherry blossoms are in bloom. on the University of Washington Seattle campus. One thing that WaterHackWeek participants all have in common is that they are working on research or software or challenges related to water data and water research that has needs for either cloud computing, open source software, research tools that just don't quite exist yet to work on really complex problems. So the needs that we have in water research and the critical challenges that are facing our planet are really at the heart of the passion and the drive of people who come to WaterHackWeek. And that spark of why you got into this field and why you're working on this research, we really want to fan that flame and support people who are working on these challenges and help you get rid of any data roadblocks and give you access to as much online infrastructure as possible to make your research successful. One question that I have is, what if we had a research workforce that was working on water problems that represented the global population? So imagine the diversity of ideas and information and data types that we need to be working on problems from disaster prevention to, tracking land use change and crowdsourcing data for machine learning and even just finishing a PhD where all of your data is publicly available and artificial intelligence ready to be harvested to solve the big problem that you have designed your research around. All of those are not trivial, and we want those skills to be more accessible to more people. This is a picture from a mixer that we had on Wednesday night of the 1 week event. So I'm going to take a break here and introduce a WaterHackWeek alumni from the University of Washington. Oriana is a PhD student and research scientist who both helped with leading and driving what WaterHackWeek was last year and was a leader on the team. Oriana?
Great. So yeah, my name's Oriana Chegwiden, and I'm a graduate student and research scientist at UW. I'm the person who's kind of awkwardly poking up like a groundhog in the back there in the yellow cardigan. And I thought that I'll just give a couple of minutes about what my experience was participating in WaterHackWeek. So this was my first time ever participating, and I was a project lead, which meant that I was given the opportunity to create a small, achievable project with a very refined research question, and then lead a group of participants in exploring that question throughout the week. And so the question that I came up with was based upon research that I had done already and had a deep expertise in about the effect of climate change on the hydrology of the Pacific Northwest. We wanted to look at extreme events, so extreme floods and droughts, and how they might change. So we had a very diverse set of people on our team. We had 3 research scientists from different disciplines. It was multinational. There was one guy from Canada. He's the one in the checkered shirt there. He was also from the private sector, so that was an interesting component in our team. We had one person from the School of Marine and Environmental Affairs at the University of Washington. She's at the back there in gray, and she was able to provide a really lovely perspective on grounding all of our research and in asking, okay, why do these questions matter that we're trying to ask right now? And she was able to provide that context and just kind of bring us back to like making sure what we were doing made sense. One really nice thing was that the woman who's poking out behind the guy in green, she was an undergraduate student from University of Texas, and she was studying math, but she was really good at coding. And but she didn't know really anything about environmental science, and so she was able to really help us with a lot of the coding, but then and we were able to kind of bring her up to speed on the hydrology aspects of it. So that was a really a symbiotic relationship. And then in front of me in green is Ifan, who's another lab mate of mine, and he was the data scientist. And so he was working really hard to kind of make sure everyone was working as a cohesive unit, and managed our GitHub repo. And he was really good about helping out where there were gaps in understanding for coding, or if someone had a bug, he would kind of jump on it and help. I think the diversity in our team is a testament to how we could each learn from each other, depending on what our background was. And one thing that the biggest learning experience for me was at the end of it was that I think I did encounter sometimes frustration over, oh, well, I'm not answering this whole research question that I wanted to answer. But when I think about the long-term impacts of the collaboration that we engaged in, I learned way more about being able to communicate my science better, working in a team just of different experience levels was a very good learning experience in order to just like understand, oh, okay, I need to document my code better so that someone else can read it. And I think it ultimately made for a more transferable project. Yeah, so I think that's about it. And I'll just pass it back to Christina.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Oriana or for me or Tony about the first few slides we've seen so far? We can take a break here for any questions there might be. You can put questions into the question box over on the side. The chat is also there, but if you have a specific question, that's a great place to put it. So we'll keep going until something shows up there. So beyond working on this great team experience, yeah, go ahead.
We did just get a question right as you started.
Okay, great.
And the question is the Hack Week question, I'm guessing the project question, is the WaterHackWeek question oriented or more freeform?
So the questions that you work on as a project. So what you're looking at here is a list of tools that get worked on, or some of the tools that get worked on in tutorials. So we don't expect you to know, for example, all of these different software libraries or online tools. So part of that is the morning training, and then in the afternoon is this project work. And those research questions are 100% open to the participants and leaders that want to present it. Oriana, do you want to speak to like your understanding of the process from your perspective of it from the beginning, of like what made you choose to pitch a project?
Yeah, so I think I wanted the experience of, from a self-serving perspective, I just had this data set that I had created, and I was kind of starting to think through it for my own research. And I was kind of, I liked the idea of having multiple eyes on it, and people with different perspectives and curiosities. In terms of how specific or freeform, I think it helps the more specific the question is, just because because everyone's coming from such different backgrounds, some with actually, I would say everyone with less information and knowledge about the topic than the project lead, given that you're the one that proposed it. It helps to make it as specific as possible because everyone is really smart. So they're able to get up to speed very quickly. But having a more focused research question allows people to focus their getting up to speed, and they're able to kind of get rolling much faster. When it's like a big, broad topic, it's a little harder to direct that intelligence and make everyone focused and productive. I think that's also like good for morale, just because once people are like making progress and making headway, everyone gets excited about it. So I think I would personally say that the more specific a project, the better.
Right. So to clarify, it's open what the topic is, and it's open what software libraries are used by the team, but it's best for the leader to really help make it specific so that the team members who choose to work on it know what they're going to be working on. So how did you decide what software libraries would be used? So when you pitched your project, did the people who joined the team know what libraries they would be working on? Like time series data, spatial data, using what tools?
Yeah. So at the beginning of WaterHackWeek, all of the project leads were given, I think, 2 minutes to present both the topic of their research project and the tools they would be using. And that was something that that pitch and those decisions, the data scientist Yifan Chung and I made that decision together. And we were pretty firm in that this project would be done using Python. One woman in our group, she had extensive experience with R, but it just wouldn't have that wouldn't have really worked with the project. So, but she was excited about the prospect of learning Python. So, and she was really quick, so it was impressive. And so we were very clear that we would be using Python to work with time series data, no spatial data, and we also kept the data set pretty small to just so that it was a little more manageable. Yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah, that's great. So, and please, if there's more questions or more clarification, go ahead and put it in the question box. And right, so the slide we're looking at here just goes over a high level types of content and skills that are worked on. And what we'll be doing over the next few months is learning, if people this year want to spend more time on open source standards or geospatial statistics or access to different types of more cloud computing, we can increase our focus on that. The other areas to expect here is we do have a very diverse crowd and audience that we attract during the application process, and we work really hard to maintain the diversity of the applications throughout the selection process. And we do try to target about 50% graduate students, and the rest of our audience seems to be about a uniform distribution of all other career stages, which is great for networking for people who are looking for jobs or people who are looking to hire or just looking to collaborate and meet more people and bring in a range of experiences. So on the curriculum side, we have these different topics that we'll be working on. If you go to the WaterHackWeek GitHub website, we have an example schedule. If you go to github.com/WaterHackWeek, that's the the organization with all the repositories of all the tutorials and all the projects from last year, so you can see what are examples of these interactive tutorials and what do those look like. And also want to mention, I'd mentioned in the morning, it's focused on learning and interactive tutorials and working through, new software libraries and building new skills and introducing you to all types of new available technology that you may not know of yet. And then in the afternoon is organized around teamwork. In the evenings, we're working hard to not be on screens, so to speak, but to do more interactive work that is with teams and with each other and getting to know each other and experiencing Seattle and just getting to socialize and know each other more. So it's different. If you've attended a hackathon before, this might be different than that. On the project side, we talked a bit about a pitch. This is a professor from the University of Hawaii presenting her pitch for a project that she led that Tony and I actually participated on last year and continue to work on with her since last March. The open side, as that we talked about earlier, is that it's open to first what the lead and the data science are presenting, and then as a team, what direction you go and how you evolve a project is a team process, that it is totally open, but we're directing it to be as likely to succeed for everyone's individual learning objectives as possible, if that makes sense. And with these projects, as far as what's open about it, is we have people who plan in advance. They already have some data they want to bring. They know that's why they're applying and what they want to work on. And we also have people who decide Monday morning, like, oh, I can do that. Like, I really want to work on this. I have this new idea that I want to work on. I'm gonna do a pitch and see if people will join a team. And that's also an option. What's nice about not planning too much in advance is that for people who are looking to just focus on learning and doing something totally innovative that they never have time to do at work, then during your usual work days, then this is an opportunity to explore those totally brand new ideas. And there may be people who are at WaterHackWeek who are the perfect people to work on it with you. So in that way, it is open, and we'll work with you to refine the questions to be have outcomes that are manageable within a week of afternoons. The projects are both about working together as a team, but also we really want to encourage people to understand and define for yourself what you are coming to WaterHackWeek to learn about. And then to also, in addition to like tracking your own learning objectives, just to be open to learning something that you hadn't, to be open and curious to learning something new. So examples from last year, so you got an idea from Oriana about the climate change project in the Pacific Northwest. You can read more about the science details and the data science details of that online. But and this is a list of projects, of all the 9 projects we had last year. So we had, so in a different type of example would be where Oriana and Yafan decided to work in Python using Jupyter notebooks, to working with time series, climate change data, and streamflow. Let's see, the lake group, effects of wildlife on tundra hydrology and lake change, was actually a group of people who from what I remember, each person in that team pitched their own project, something to do with lakes. And in the end, they decided to form one team. They decided to use Google Earth Engine to study lake change in the Arctic and to develop the code in a way that they could apply that code for lakes in Africa, for lakes in the Midwest, for lakes anywhere on the planet. And so that was a great example of, you know, choosing a technology, finding a team, and then making progress on code together in a way that people are building both a shared team experience as well as going home with new tools for their research. A third example is from our groundwater mapping crew. Katya pitched a project where she wanted to build an app to look at groundwater data from a public database in California. And Rohit worked with her to develop a Tethys app where all of the data could be automatically visualized through an app. And that work was, you know, a different platform, a different topic, and a different data set related to water. And that gives you an idea of the range of different projects. Within the project, as Oriana described, there's a project lead who's going to be pitching the project. And then a data science lead could be someone that you identify in advance, or it could be someone that joins your project after hearing the pitch. And then team members can contribute, and that contribution to the team really is open to what people want to work on and what their skills are. The user ecosystem and the training experience that I want to mention here has two sides. We really, there's really no way around getting more user IDs. We communicate on Slack. We have folks share their data on HydroShare so that it's all available, as well as the tutorials and data sets used in the projects. And then we use GitHub for our code repositories. So there's a code repository that we have in the WaterHackWeek organization for each tutorial and for each project each year of WaterHackWeek. So that library is growing, and the tools that you use, we have a lot of options for running code online, and what we focus on and what you use really depends on the research that you're working on and the team project you're working on. So getting information and the interacting with everyone and all the participants to figure out what are the roadblocks that we need to be able to get on the right cyber infrastructure platform for your research project is, you know, we need information from you to make sure you have access to all the resources that are available to you. And then we do a lot of open source software libraries, from learning. Some people come to WaterHack with no Python experience. We encourage you to try to get some Python experience before you come, but there's a lot of library information that can be built as you go and build on your other experiences from other domains and other coding experiences. So this cyber seminar series is one way that we cooked up to get people a little more prepared before WaterHackWeek. And last year was a great experience of building, you know, 1 hour interactive tutorial of stepping through a Jupyter notebook that covers 8 different topics. So those resources are on YouTube. They're on the CUAHSI library of cyber seminars, and they've been organized by our coordinator, Nicoletta Christia, in a link called Learning Resources on our WaterHackWeek page. So this year, what we want to do is build on those resources from last year and have themes as well as panel discussion on those topics. So we'll be coming out with more information about this in the next few weeks. And then the idea is that the tools that are already online, you can work through them on your own if you're not familiar with those topics or you want to become more familiar with it. And then we can discuss it in these cyber seminars and answer questions that you might have after working through those materials. Working through the cyber seminar resources is not a requirement. We know people are busy with other projects and work before they come to WaterHack Week, but these are resources that are available for people who have the time and interest and want to build their data science skills before they come. I want to talk also about what are the outcomes we expect from WaterHack Week as far as connections and new advancements in water-related research, and trying to explore ways of how do we quantify that. You know, it's only 1 week, so we're really at the beginning of the research project of, we know there's an unmet research need, which is, you know, in part why you may be coming to WaterHack Week to learn what technologies are there so you can accomplish that your research goal using more data science, using more cyber infrastructure. So this is a software app that our colleague Madhvi has made available, and we've designed to make a graph network of WaterHack Week. So this is a picture of WaterHack Week participants and the journal articles that they have in their CVs. This is a sample data set from just the top 5 citations as an example, and then we'll be populating this as we go. So this software is a work in progress. So we'd love to get your feedback. So this is showing how the 2019 participants and instructors, so it's about 60 people, were connected, and all of their co-authors are currently connected. And this shows how after WaterHack Week, if you look at all of the resources that are online related to WaterHack Week on HydroShare, we have a group and a list of resources shared with that group, as well as on GitHub. As I mentioned, we have a WaterHack Week organization and all the repositories that are on, and all the contributors to those repositories in the WaterHack Week organization. When you combine not just the journal articles, but the data publications and the code publications, we have new connections that are being made. Now, these new connections and the data that's used in projects, the code that's used in projects, it is not going to be completed or have a DOI or be peer-reviewed, published, within a week of WaterHack Week, but it's preliminary work that should eventually get us there to new publications and new proposals that fills in this gap of this unmet research need. So we're building a process to try to see how are we making that happen together better. So this, let's see, where is the hyperlink? Because I can see it over here. Yeah, so this is on Tableau, and I will put that link in the chat box later, and we'll follow up by an email because I thought I had the link on here. You can put issues if you want to interact with this on Tableau and you come up with issues or have suggestions, please let us know using the issues at this GitHub repo for the freshwater connector. So that brings us to collaborators. At the beginning of the slides here, we have a big group of people, and the folks that work on WaterHack Week come from different institutions, and one organizational force behind this is a NSF project that's funded by the Cyber Training Program. And those awards are here. That project is Data Streams Model Workflows and Educational Pipelines for Hydrologic Sciences. That was awarded in 2018 and allowed the beginning of our WaterHackWeek adventure in 2019. So you can read more about that, the scope of that project at that link. And what that team does and how it participates in WaterHackWeek is really focus on a few specific projects that the PIs are leaders on. One is HydroShare, cyber infrastructure platform that we train people on at WaterHackWeek so we can use that as a community data repository. It also gives us access to some compute resources provided by CUAHSI. And then we have projects that are longer term, multi-year projects that are related to different types of water data and models like SUMA and LandLab or rapid data sets from 2017 and beyond hurricanes, for example. And so we want to make that data available, and students working with that data to, you may see them as instructors or participants at WaterHackWeek. The Freshwater Initiative at the University of Washington is also a driving force behind WaterHackWeek. A few years ago, graduate student steering committee decided that having a WaterHackWeek was a priority for their group. And last year, the student leader, Lily McGill, really made a huge push forward on building what WaterHackWeek can be and will be going forward. Tony, do you want to talk about CUAHSI's kind of contributions to WaterHackWeek?
Sure. CUAHSI, so I'm a hydrologic scientist at CUAHSI, and CUAHSI is an acronym that stands for the Consortium of Universities for the Advancement of Hydrologic Sciences Incorporated. We are a small nonprofit organization that is located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and our mission is listed in these 3 bullet points: strengthening interdisciplinary collaboration in the water science community, empowering the community by providing critical infrastructure, and promoting education in the water sciences. So we work very closely with universities and other institutions to provide a variety of services that are broadly categorized as either community services, which, for instance, trainings and grants to get researchers in the field to do science, things to build capacity. And that's only to name a few. That's about half of our organization focuses on that. And the other half is on data services. And these are mostly software designed to provide access to water science or hydrology data and tools for using these data, such as cloud computing services that have been kind of highlighted earlier. And Christina, if you can go to the next slide. So to go a little bit further into what CUAHSI does, one of the community services that we offer are things like this cyber seminar. But the primary way that we engage with the WaterHackWeek event, in addition to being co-PIs in the project, is provide software and tools for and education around those tools for participants at the event to use. So these are things like, I mentioned compute. We use Jupyter Hub quite a bit to support compute in Python and R. We also have a collaboration with MathWorks to provide MATLAB coding online. And then we even have some other things that are more specific to modeling, such as a new product we have called the CONUS Model Subsetter that allows people to go to this website, extract data for running continental model simulations at small scales. And the figures on the right kind of show this. And HydroShare was already mentioned. This is one of our primary data repositories that's used quite extensively throughout the week. But we also have methods for providing access to Earth observation data throughout the world, and that's the Hydrologic Information System. So in addition to these tools and services, we also engage by attending the event. It's something that I look forward to. I had a great time last year. CUAHSI sends some scientists over to participate in projects, to host in-person trainings around our tools, to answer any questions, debug problems, and most importantly, have fun with everyone. It's actually quite a great time to get away from your daily job and dive into some fun research projects. And I think that pretty much summarizes how we participate, Christina.
Okay, thanks. The third critical collaborator here that I want to wrap things up with highlighting is the eScience Institute at the University of Washington. This institute brings together data scientists and computer scientists and every other scientist on campus with to work on data-intensive discovery and to develop a community of innovators. So this at eScience, their support and contributions is really foundational, in the sense that my first Hack Week experience was with GeoHackWeek. There's a NeuroHack Week, I think was started in 2014. It was AstroHack Week. There's an AstroHack Week 2014 that really is ahead of us, I would say, way ahead of us in organizing Hack Weeks. And their community is contributes to this Hack Week toolkit. So my experience with GeoHack Week and when I mentioned our freshwater graduate students who wanted to prioritize having a WaterHack Week, really was driven by this inspiration from our eScience colleagues, and GeoHack Week and our experiences at GeoHack Week and Ocean Hack Week really made that idea come to life to have a WaterHack Week. So eScience supports WaterHack Week from making sure we all have lunch, to providing, our welcome reception and space for working and planning at the University of Washington Seattle campus. They also connect us with big data hubs and resources and collaborations they have with data carpentry, software carpentry, and helping us build tutorials that really are world class. So the backgrounds for WaterHack Week, or what is a Hack Week, really the best article I could direct you to read more about it is this article that came out last year in PNAS, and this covers what is a Hack Week, and what you should know is it's an educational model that you can read more about here. And this educational model really, I think this paper does a great job explaining the continuum of types of projects you may have heard of or may have participated yourself in, where in some cases, a summer school is very focused on tutorials and education and teaching. And then Hack Weeks are a blend of the tutorials and the project work, which is more open. And then there's also hack type events that are 100% project focused, right? What we're trying to do at WaterHack Week is learn as much as possible from our colleagues at eScience that are organizing and leading and participating in neuro and geo and astro. Not shown here is Ocean Hack Week. So there's this broader community of people working on new ways to build educational communities that are working on data and using cyber infrastructure. So what's new about what we're trying to contribute as a WaterHackWeek community is by providing as much leadership opportunity as we can to students, exploring how to use cyber seminars to support and build a community before and after the week event so that we can understand more how to take all of these great new ideas and innovations and convert them into new proposals and new papers, or just be able to observe how that happens and quantify it so we can keep replicating it. And we also have a education evaluation process supported by Data to Insight, which is led by evaluation data scientist Veronica Smith. So this gets back to our NSF project, which supports us has asked us to do an education evaluation through a neutral third party. And that process, if you haven't been exposed to this level of education evaluation, which I had not before meeting Veronica, it's an amazing way of evaluating how we're learning and focusing our project work and our time as WaterHackWeek leaders on developing an event that is focused on our priorities, and first starting with just understanding what our priorities are, and then understanding what users, participants, people who all come to WaterHackWeek and contribute, what have they learned, what do they want to learn, and actually measuring that in a very thorough manner has really been a privilege to learn from Veronica on how to do that. So you have many different opportunities for joining the WaterHackWeek community. The applications for this year are going to be closing January 5th, so please try to get it's a very short application actually. We're trying to make it as just the amount of information we need to understand how motivated folks are. We can't accept everyone who applies because we have limited space. So let us know how you've contributed in the past and how motivated you are to participate in WaterHackWeek, and we will look forward to reading your applications. We are also looking for sponsors to help with participant travel support. You can do this by adding WaterHackWeek and event and travel support to your future proposals. So please contact me with more information on that. We'll be putting up a website with more details on that. We are on HydroShare and GitHub and Twitter. You can follow us there. We'll be continuing to build the freshwater connector. So that's one way that we can stay connected and understand who the community is, so you can opt in. And then we hope to be having a larger presence at AGU next year. There's been talk of having a special a session around some of the work that we do. And if you can't apply this year, please apply next year. Finally, we are looking for, let's go to the next slide. We're looking for student co-directors for this year. Last year, Lily McGill did an amazing job leading our freshwater community mixer, as well as participating in WaterHackWeek throughout the week, and has moved on to another state to be able to work on her research. So what would be great is to have co-directors who want to understand and work with us to collect some of that evaluation data to be sure that WaterHackWeek is serving the needs of graduate students specifically. We have people working on collecting data for the entire community and how that's all working, but to have student representatives really understanding that and helping us be sure that WaterHackWeek is working for students is a really important need. So having co-directors from, maybe one from the University of Washington and an alumni who's not from the University of Washington next year would be great. So please apply using the instructor application and let us know that that's your interest. We have a lot of sponsors from last year to recognize, and when we distribute these slides, you can see some of the references that you can credit for the content. And then, if you have more questions, we can go through those now. And when I think these two quotes, when we collected information from our everyone last year at the end of the year, and we asked them the same question: what is WaterHackWeek? And I think these two quotes really summarize it the best, with the caveat that everyone understands that really the participants that come, as you interact and participate in WaterHackWeek, that really drives and defines what WaterHackWeek is. So thank you all for listening, and we'll go through some questions.
Great, Christina, we do have a couple questions. One came in quite a while ago, and it is, do many teams work on their projects after the Hack Week, or is it really just specific to the week?
That is, I know of 3 teams, but we have not followed up with each of the teams to find that out. So we should do that.
So yeah, there's no restriction to only working on it during the week. And what Christina mentioned, her and I are on a team that has continued to work after, and I think that is actually something that we would encourage, and that would go along with possibly presenting at AGU. You might need to continue to do additional work outside of that Hack Week event to get to that point.
I think the challenge is to continue, taking a week from your current projects to participate at WaterHackWeek and to work on a new research project. The challenge then is to convert that into something that you're funded to do, to either get your current employer on board to pitch this new idea, to get a new proposal out there and funded so that you can continue working on it, is a transition that we would like to be able to support more next year. And we have some ideas of how we might do that. But at the same time, sometimes projects, you learn that defining the problem is actually the bulk of the work. Or maybe you just realize that there's a whole other avenue that you're more interested in working on, which you wouldn't have discovered without being involved on the project. I think there's the definition of success of a project is quite wide. Oriana, do you have any anything you want to say about your project, or how you may or may not have continued working on it with your team?
So we haven't. I mean, right now we're not working on it, but there were a couple, I would say there's a couple ways that people have kind of concrete benefits that people have derived from it. So, and maybe people working on it independently. So one of the guys, his name was Conrad, he put out a little blog post on his kind of personal/professional blog, and about the project, and it was a way for him to show that he had developed this working knowledge of hydrology, and because his background, I think, was in ice sheet modeling or something, and so it was a way for him to kind of show that he had more hydrology understanding. Another guy who's a research scientist at the University of Washington, I think he had, through WaterHackWeek, been able to focus on, kind of devote this time to really honing his programming skills. And I believe he's used those tools and skills later on in his job. Just for me, the topic that we were looking at, these extreme hydrologic extremes, has turned into a publication for me. Now that was, I think, partly because I had wanted to, I'd been wanting to look at this question anyway, but I think it probably helped in that way, just kind of giving me a week to really think about it and get started. Those are kind of some concrete ways that the work has continued, though maybe not as part of this cohesive unit.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions, so maybe we should move on. The next one is there any work related to coastal disasters like flooding, storm surge, etc.? And is there available data in libraries for such topics?
So I think maybe that question would be related to last year's work. Mm-hmm. And do you want to take that one, Tony?
Yeah.
And Yunfan just answered too.
Oh. The other question. Okay. Well, offhand, I don't know. I don't think anyone. I'm not sure if anyone dealt with that last year, but for 2020, if you have an idea regarding topics in coastal disasters like flooding and storm surges, that's something that you should bring with you and pitch. You can research any idea, and that's the whole point of being a project lead. You bring your idea, your well-formed and constrained idea, you pitch it to the participants, and you form teams around that. So if that's something you're interested in, then it's absolutely a possibility for next year. In terms of libraries, you'll be presented with a whole range of libraries, and I'm sure there'll be a handful that are directly applicable to topics such as that. There will also be other libraries and tools that you may not find as helpful for that particular research topic, but might find helpful for others. And data. The best thing to do would be to bring your own data. However, there are people that will be at the event, myself included, Christina, other organizers that will be more than happy to help you find and assemble data sets for your work. And that's something that I believe through our Slack channel, we might be able to get working on ahead of the event if that was something that you thought was crucial to the success of your project. Christina, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think I would say that the cyber seminars are a great, worked well last year as a vehicle to find each other and the data and code that's out there, to start understanding what's out there. So for example, the project that we had a few slides on that Katya led with the groundwater contamination data in the state of California, she knew that she wanted to work with that data, but she didn't know, she didn't have a strong data science or coding background and didn't know what were the possibilities. So after going through the cyber seminar series, she learned about the Tethys apps and asked Rohit to help with that, so they could build a team to visualize the data and spatially explore that data set. So if you have a question like that or a data set, whether it's a research topic or a specific data set you want to explore more, bring that to the conversation in the cyber seminars, and we have people we could introduce you to or find, but there's also more things that we can't even predict that could happen just by you asking more questions and meeting more people. So that was a process of how it worked last year. And I cannot read the entire response from Yinfan. Can you see that, Tony? Do you want to share that?
I will check it out. Just to summarize though, on that question is you can absolutely research that topic if you would want to. All right, so Yinfan, who you may recognize from one of the figures if you're paying attention. There's a picture of her pitching her idea. She writes, I know a few participants use the WaterHackWeek opportunity to work on a subset of their dissertation. So one person did on a subset of his dissertation, and I met him and presented at the Society of Freshwater Science Conference. So there's an example of someone that used that to extend their work and then turn that into a presentation at a conference.
And I also know of someone who, a participant last year, who started out with very little data science coding, programming experience, who was an international participant, had travel support, and then, a few months later was off, getting an award for women in high performance computing. There's lots of possible outcomes.
And something I just wanted to mention, and we can hang on the line probably if there's another question or two, is that you may have been presented with a lot of technologies that you are not familiar with on this info session slide deck, and the cyber seminars might seem daunting if you're unfamiliar with some of these, or if you aren't the strongest programmer. And the one thing I would like to just emphasize is that these aren't meant to be intimidating. These are meant to as an opportunity to expand your tool set, the skills that you have to solve problems. You are in no way, shape, or form required to use any of these or all of them, or restricted. You could try to use, that could be your project, try to use everything to solve the problems. But we're looking for people at a variety of skill levels. If you are looking at some of these technologies and you say that, I only know one of them, maybe this isn't for me, that's not accurate. WaterHackWeek, you do not need to know any of these technologies to be successful. So with that, I think Christina, we have another couple comments. There's a really cool global sea level rise data set that might be of interest at psmsl.org. So thank you, Jason. We'll take a look at that. And another comment, I'm developing a commercial software for hydrologic applications and beyond. Can I bring some part of this and use that as my project?
I think yes. I mean, most of the repositories that we have are all open source and shared on GitHub. So especially if there's a part of your, it's an easy yes if your commercial software is open source and the piece that you're building is open source, then that's an easy yes. And if there's parts of the code that are subject to copyright or other confidentiality restrictions of your company, then that is more complicated, but still possible. So we absolutely encourage our science partners and colleagues from private industry and commercial industry to be part of our community, because you know so many things that we want to learn about.
Yeah. And if you're referring to software that might be developed at the event and then made closed source and sold for profit, that might be something that you should contact us about so we can talk a little bit further, because I don't think we really thought that through, but there might be some problems there, or at least some considerations that we have to make.
So developing processes around that is important. So it'd be great to, I wouldn't say we've got that all figured out yet, but we're interested to figure it out together and make it successful and possible. Yep.
Okay, so we are 7 minutes past the hour, and maybe we'll wait an extra minute for another question. And if you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off if you want. Christina, do you have any concluding remarks?
I really like WaterHackWeek and all the people that come. So thank you everybody for joining our information session and making the future of WaterHackWeek and advancing really complex, big challenges in water. Let's make some progress on that together.
All right, so it looks like we don't have any other questions, so I'll go ahead and end this session for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you in the future at another cyber seminar.